right. Well, good morning. I think this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Uh, if we're mourning anything this morning, it is the loss of democracy. I am your duly elected state attorney for the Ninth Judicial Circuit, and nothing done by a weak dictator can change that. This is an outrage. 1 year, 3 years ago, I was elected by the people of the Ninth Judicial Circuit to lead this circuit. And yes, to do things unconventionally, to do things differently. But I didn't hide. I didn't say that I would do things and I didn't do them. I didn't say I wouldn't do things and not did them. I did exactly what I said I would do. And that is what you want from an elected official. Elected officials are being taken out of office solely for political purposes, and that should never be a thing. There used to be a very high standard for the removal of elected officials. There used to be a standard that I would have had to have been criminally prosecuted for something, neglecting my duties, meaning that I don't show up for work and do my job, or that I had some sort of an illness that prevented me from doing my job. But under this tyranny, elected officials can be removed simply for political purposes and by a whim of the governor. And no matter how you feel about me, you should not be okay with that.
There you have it. Tyranny. That's the word that seems to stand out the most, at least when you look at the context of that Florida, folks. If you don't know, Monique Worrell, the state attorney, the prosecutor there, was removed by Governor Ron DeSantis. No real reason given. She was elected by the people. And this is the second prosecutor that DeSantis has removed. Last year, he removed the prosecutor for his refusal to press further charges in the case involving someone from the LGBTQ community. And now this. He got rid of Monique Worrell, or at least sidelined her, really because she's a Democrat. No other reason than that. And that, as she said, whether you like her or not, should be troubling, particularly to folks in Florida, but not just folks in Florida. We see this going on everywhere in these states. Barrington joins us, of course. He decides to crawl out of bed, finally, took a shower, brushed his teeth.
Long night.
Uh-huh. It's always a long night in the Salmon household. Barrington, this is Austin says it's good to see the legendary and renowned. Oh, he's talking about me. Okay.
Yeah.
And he called you Archbishop Barrington Salmon.
Archbishop. Oh, Lord. Okay.
New title for Barrington. But Barrington, before we get into other topics, we're going to talk about the fiasco, the absurdity of Dianne Feinstein, Senator Dianne Feinstein, still in office. Yeah. And Billy Porter had some interesting things to say about the actors' strike. And I really want to hear folks like Austin and Mike V and Power 96 and David and even Dr. Nicole. I want to hear y'all take, and others, I want to hear all your takes on Billy Porter and what he said. He said he had to sell his house because of the strike, and he says he's living paycheck to paycheck. And other actors are. What's your take on that? I don't want to sound cynical because I know that every situation is not the same. Not everybody is making Tom Cruise money, but still want to get your take on that. And of course, the latest from the Orange Man himself, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, Barrington, and we're going to talk about this as well. He has, again, there's the judge in the January 6th case, in the election case in D.C., is summoning the parties to court tomorrow. They tried to get out of it. The Trump team said, "Oh, we're busy," and she said, "I don't care what you're doing. 11 o'clock, I need you in D.C. We are going to make some rulings here on this gag order." Trump has continued to violate all the orders that are giving, and he went on the offensive as an indictment, as we've been knowing for a long time, is coming down in Atlanta. He really went, not that he hasn't in the past gone overboard, but this is like jail stuff. Because if you or I would do this to a prosecutor or a judge or whatever, we've talked about that. But he alleged, falsely alleged, and knew it was false, that District Attorney Fani Willis had an affair with a gang leader. This is just beyond, whether you a Trump supporter or not, or whether you're like me who don't care about these politicians. This is a problem. It's a major problem. And we're also going to talk about the Montgomery brawl again, because now new evidence shows that, in fact, it was race related, that racial epithets were hurled from the white voters on just before that brawl broke out. And also on a lighter note, Barrington, and a good note, the National Basketball Association, the NBA, is starting a new season in a couple of months. In fact, preseason is next month. More than half of the head coaches in the National Basketball Association are now Black. Really interesting turn of events for a league that is mostly Black. We'll talk about that, but other sports, of course, lag way far behind, and the NBA still lags far behind as far as the decision makers, those in the front office. But let's go back, Barrington, and start with down in Florida. Greer played that press conference there by the district attorney, the state attorney, Monique. DeSantis is really, she used the word tyranny. And this is what happens when someone has pretty much total power.
Yeah. It is every time that just about every time that we wake up, we see one more outrage from the little tin pot dictator from Florida. It's like we have a racist writ large and writ small. We got Trump more on the national stage, doing everything. I mean, everything he can to disparage, to try to belittle, to besmirch primarily Black women. And he's doing the same thing with DeSantis. DeSantis is doing the same thing. He did this to another state attorney who wrote a letter saying that he wouldn't prosecute cases of people who go beyond or ignore the 6-week ban that DeSantis put in place in the middle of the night. On the cover of darkness, and the judge in the judge in that case said that he couldn't do anything, even though DeSantis is wrong. He couldn't do that. So from what I read, Ms. Worrell, she won like 66% in her race, and he's decided that she's unfit to stay in office. So basically he's saying, and it's interesting because, well, it's not interesting, but it's so predictable because the folks that he's targeted are Democratic leaders in blue areas of Florida. Yeah. So I assume he'll do it again.
It's interesting, Barrington, as you pointed out. So federal judge said that DeSantis is wrong, but he also said he's powerless. The federal courts are powerless to do anything about it.
Yeah, which sounds like foolishness to me. But
it really does, because again, folks come on this program and they talk about vote, right?
Yeah.
And look, I'm not disparaging anyone. I'm not saying, if that's your choice, that's your choice. But they voted, like you said, 66%. She got 66% of the vote when she won, right? And let's not forget Andrew Warren last year, the other district attorney that he, kicked off the bench, or not the bench, but he kicked out of office. Yeah. These are elected. They're not appointed positions. These are elected positions. So when the people made their choice, they made their choice. And DeSantis has decided, hey, and unchecked, that I'm going to do this. Yeah. I'm going to put who I want. And he had two sheriffs standing behind him in that press conference, right? Neither from the county that she represents, which is ironic. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about he's the governor for law and order.
But it's not ironic when you consider the fact that one of the playing cards that the Republicans are using, they have been going hard after progressive prosecutors anywhere that they are in the country, and whether it's the legislatures or other elected officials, they've been busy in Missouri, in St. Louis, and other places. So they're and I mean, what's his name? Cesar Borda, I think his name is, in San Francisco. He was a progressive DA that won, and they got him out. They recalled him, and he lost his position. So they have decided that. And I mean, if you look at the order that DeSantis wrote yesterday, he's pissed off because he said that she's not putting more people in jail.
Right. She's not putting more people in jail. That is absolutely what he said.
Read that as Black people. She's not putting enough Black people in jail. She's not putting enough children, juveniles, in jail, because she has been advocating for alternative programs to prison.
Yep.
So he's showing us again who he is. That it's all about putting people who look like us in prison and jail.
DeSantis has desperately tried to get to the right of Donald Trump since he's come on the scene, really, since he's entered the race, for sure. And you can't get too far right than Donald Trump, and he's desperately trying to do that. Mike V says that the tangerine tyrant started attacking Black women with Omarosa. And Bobby says that this governor, talking about DeSantis, Bobby Henry, the publisher of the West Side Gazette, he says this governor has suspended over 20 people from their elected office. So it's not the first time that
20.
He's exhibited this type of power.
20? Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know it was 20. We knew about Andrew Warren. We know about the prosecutor here, but 20. And this is, again, unchecked, Barrington.
Yeah. Florida has become the domain of a petty dictator, because and we've talked about it before, the Democratic Party is almost non-existent there. They have used gerrymandering and redistricting to gain supermajorities in the House and the Senate, the Florida House and Senate. And this idiot is pretty much allowed to do what he wants. But it doesn't make a difference, because no matter what he does, he ain't gonna beat Trump, and he's not gonna become president. And the political pundits, the ones who claim to be the ones with a finger on the pulse, they're saying that America at large rejects the prescriptions that he has for the country.
Yeah.
So
Bobby Henry's down there in Fort Lauderdale and covering his West Side Gazette is not just covering the Fort Lauderdale area there near Miami and all that, but they got their finger on the pulse of the entire state. So I know they're going to be watching this very closely. We can read some stuff there in the West Side Gazette. Go to the West Side Gazette's website, folks, and check out what they got going on. Barrington. Okay, so many are saying that this is beyond absurd. That California Senator Dianne Feinstein needs to step down. Reports, the latest is that she was just again hospitalized, albeit briefly, for a fall at her home this week. We know that recently there was this where somebody had to tell her how to vote or when to vote or something of that nature, which from the floor. 90 years old, and now they say that she wants to finish out her term, which is I believe 2020 January 2025. Here's the thing: many people believe that she should have long since left.
But this is a problem that we have. We are essentially being governed by a gerontocracy. She's 80, 88, 89. She's 90. Okay, she's 90. Mitch McConnell, who looks like he had some type of stroke or some type of medical emergency. He's 80. He's 81. Trump is 77. Biden is 80 or 81. You have all, and I mean, her staff has been the one who has been ruling in her stead, because they said that she's been having issues remembering things. She's been having issues in terms of remembering where she is when she's on on committees and doing that type of stuff. It's crazy, but it's a power thing, bruh.
It is absolutely ludicrous to see this again. She served for a long time. I'm sure that if you look at her record, many people will say that she's accomplished some really good things over the course of her serving. But there's a time the end comes for everybody, right? And like you said, so you got to understand that this is not, once again, we can talk about DeSantis, because everything we've said about him is absolutely true. We can talk about Trump, we can talk about Biden, we can talk about them all. But when it comes to the bare bone facts is this, folks, Barrington, as you know, it doesn't seem at all to be about the constituents anymore with no politician.
No. One of the things that I've read about is that they're trying to, because Nancy Pelosi is behind this in terms of trying to, because Pelosi's daughter is very instrumental in her care, and I think in terms of representing it from what I've read, and they are doing this because they want to make sure that the person that they want to replace her, I think Adam Schiff, they want Adam Schiff to replace her.
Right, but here's the problem with that. Ruth Bader Ginsburg wanted to stay on until she could essentially do the same thing, right? And look what happened.
Yeah. Well,
and look, you wind up getting what? How many court picks? 3, right? That Trump wound up getting.
Yeah, because of her. But this is different in the sense that she represents a solidly Democratic state. So she will be, if anything happens to her, she'll be replaced by a Democrat.
By a Democrat, so it makes it even more absurd.
But they make, well, any Democrat's not a Democrat. They want to make sure that it's their Democrat.
They want to make sure it's not a what's this West Virginia senator?
Manchin.
Joe Manchin. They want to make sure it's not a Joe Manchin or that what's the other one that now has renounced herself as a Democrat, now says he's an independent who has absolutely no chance of winning.
Kristen
Sinema, yeah. So
it's a lot of political shenanigans, and
shenanigans is the right word.
Yeah, and it's sad to see this, because she needs to just go sit down, go home, go sit down.
Let her live out the rest of her years, with dignity. Is what and
apparently she has more money than God. So
and where is that getting her right now, though?
Well, hey,
And Mike V has a point, Barrington, and just a quick comment on this from you. He says that her condition is an issue of national security.
It is. But there's so many issues of national security that folks are ignoring these days. it's like it doesn't matter. And I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that the U.S. is under any more extraordinary threat than it has been in the past, but I mean, there are a lot of folks out there, a lot of enemies out there, and we have to admit too that some of them are manufactured enemies, but there are national security concerns that they should be worried about. But when you have people who have taken on the mantra of being God, when they think that everything that they're doing has been ordained by God, and we see the greed and the hubris from them in a case like this, because I guess they figure that they're not going to do anything until she dies in office or whatever, which is ridiculous.
Bobby Henry says that he agrees there are so many other issues of national security as it pertains to how we are being treated. The fact that we have individuals who are trying to, forgive me, die in office. Where is the backup? Where are leaders who will not disenfranchise the people they are supposed to be representing? And Austin says that this is another example of white privilege by not retiring, like some African presidents.
Yeah.
Wow. They proclaim, as Austin says, the country cannot survive without me.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
But Stacey, remember, they wield they wield the almost carcass of Strom Thurmond in and out of the Senate.
In and out of, yep,
when
absolutely.
He was 100 years old.
It was like weekends at Bernie. Yep.
Right. So this is not new. It's just that there are more cases of it now because these people have been in office for 20, 25, 30 years, and they refuse to leave.
Yeah.
But in my mind, all of this accumulate. These are accumulated examples of reasons why the system is moribund, why it's corrupt, and why it needs to change.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's one to discuss, Barrington. we need to break this down and get takes from everyone on this. Actor Billy Porter said that he has had to sell his house as a result of the actors' strike. He says he is living paycheck to paycheck. He's over right now in London for a play that he's doing over there. But after speaking on his music and theater career, he touched on how the months-long strike by the Actors Union, which along with the writers' strike, has ground Hollywood to a complete halt. He says, I have to sell my house, because we're on strike and I don't know when we're going to go back. The life of an artist, until you make FU money, which I haven't made yet, is still check to check. Yeah. He says, we're going to starve. He says, he's referring to Bob Iger, who said that let them starve, who allegedly said let them starve. And Billy Porter says, we going to starve them out until they have to sell their apartments. This is what he's paraphrasing Bob Iger. He says, you've already starved me out. Yeah. But here's the thing. And the first take comes from Power 96. And I knew it would. And he says, and the only way that, in the way that only Power 96 can say it, he says, I am not counting Billy coins, but his net worth is $1 million. I can't have sympathy for millionaires. He better get on that stripper pole. So only Power 96. But here's the thing. Many folks have a hard time empathizing or sympathizing with actors.
But listen, let's put Billy Porter to the side for a minute. If you've been following these strikes, mm-hmm. You have actors who said that, like there was an actress, I don't know her name, Orange is the New Black, and she showed the residuals that she got,
like 6 cents.
6 cents, 29 cents, mm-hmm. 30 cents. So and the vast majority of them aren't the Tom Cruises and the Harrison Fords and the Meryl Streeps of the world. I believe them when they say that they've been living hand to mouth, and there's no reason to believe that they live any differently from the rest of Americans, because America is and has been a credit card culture. Americans don't save; they're not able to save. Well, they don't save or are not able to save. They the salaries and wages of the middle class has been stagnant for the past 40 years. So what's going on in Hollywood is just indicative of what's been inflicted on the middle and working class for years.
But here's the thing.
Bob Iger, what they say that he made $27 million.
Yeah.
And it would make sense for them as a tactic to starve out the actors.
Yeah, one of the things that Billy Porter brought up was the streaming companies and the streaming business, and here's the thing with that. We in this business, the journalism business, have had to those who run newspapers, particularly newspapers, but certainly broadcast networks now, they've had to make some difficult decisions because of online, because of in their case, it's the actors, it's streaming. In our case, it's just online. It's this the social media, the bloggers, et cetera, and we have lost a lot of money. We have lost a lot of jobs. But Barrington, we got to keep on keeping on, right?
We do. Greer said something which is very important, that in this industry and other places, they need to stop trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Right. If you don't have Tom Cruise money, stop trying to live like Tom Cruise. It's really as simple as that, right?
No, it's not that simple, because in an ecosystem where it's how you look, it's how you dress, it's how you present yourself, they're gonna go the extra mile, because that is part and parcel of who and what they are as actors and directors and all that type of stuff. So that they're gonna do that. And I mean,
but it doesn't. I get that, right? And I can counter that by saying, look, shoot, my daughters, they'll dress you up, make you look like everything you paid for was $1 million.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is, when I say you can't live like Tom Cruise, well, Tom Cruise could have 2, 15, 20, $30 million homes. You cannot.
Yeah. Well,
right?
I think it has to. I think a part of this too goes back to those of us who are in this country breaking the pattern, practices, and habits of living beyond your means. I mean, I was stunned. I saw a report not long ago talking about folks who are making money and who are still struggling, and the amount of people who are making $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 who are broke, right? Because they're living above their means. They got to have the fancy cars and the fancy clothes and the fancy houses, and they can't afford it. So I have a great deal of sympathy for Billy Porter, even though because what is the net worth? I could have $1 million of net worth in stuff that is assets. It might be assets, but not cash.
Right.
So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at this.
Yeah, the fact remains, and the arguments have been made, and Grimm points out the agents and lawyers, we recently, we recently talked to Rashonda Tate from Billingsley from the Defender Network, who's written like 50-something books. I've written books, you have to
sitting in Ibiza, sipping daiquiris and stuff.
You have to.
You're a published author.
Yeah, you have to. Well, the first thing is they say, okay, here's $100,000 contract. Well, the first thing is 15% of that goes to the agent, and then another. It depends on your lawyer, 15 to 30% of that goes to the lawyer, and then probably about 25% of that is taxed.
Yeah. So you're back to where you were when everybody else is taking their piece.
Yeah, exactly. So I do see their point, and I certainly certainly can empathize with, like you said, with Billy Porter there. But overall, the working public, see, people look at their profession and say, well, you know, they're acting, they're having fun, they're playing. You know, it's like athletes. You know, you hear all the time these big contracts. You know, somebody's, oh, he's making 10 million a year. Well, that 10 million, when they're paid all the fees and taxes and agents and lawyers and this state,
and don't forget families and friends.
And families and friends.
Yeah.
And so it becomes not as much as we think. You know, even we talk, even when I mentioned Tom Cruise several times, his 20 million, Denzel's 20 million for that movie. He may have cleared, you know, 5 million of that, if that.
But 5 million is still 5 million.
It's true.
Right.
It's true. Well, think about those who, you know, I saw, and I can't remember, Barrington, which actor was this? They just recently was saying that they took a pay cut. They were getting something like 50,000 an episode, and you know, they had a 20 episode season, which makes that $1 million, right? And they agreed to take a cut. They were getting like 10,000 an episode, but then the studio cut the show from 20 to 10, and then they agreed to only be paid for the episodes they appear in. So the main star, right? The main star doesn't necessarily have to appear. The main stars don't have to appear in an episode to get paid. But if you're not the main star, you have to be in every episode to get paid for every episode.
But that's foolishness too. I wouldn't have agreed to that. I wouldn't have agreed to that.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that really grinds my gears is that the Disneys, the studio, these big studios, and all this stuff. These boys who are at the top, they're making serious money, and everybody else going down the line, they're making little or nothing. And SAG-AFTRA and the WGA, they're saying they were saying that they're getting less than 1% of all of the money that's coming. I mean, that's garbage.
Who's negotiating these deals? I mean, I hear what Greer's saying. If the artist is getting 5 million, imagine how much the studios are making. So who is negotiating these deals? Again, you think about even the recording industry, right? What's left of it anyway.
Yeah.
That's another thing where we saw back in the late 90s, early 2000s, big artists like Prince and Michael Jackson were talking about
not making the money. Yeah.
Right. You know, about how the music, the labels were taking all the money. We're making all the money. All of this is mafia business, brethren.
They may look legit, they may be legit, but the criminality that's allowed in the record business, in the film business, in terms of how the money is distributed, how the revenue is shared out. I mean, it's criminal. It's criminal.
And look, here's another element to that Mike V brings to it. He says that it's not just materialism, Barrington. He says their student loan debt outweighs their income as well.
Yeah. But
that's another element.
But at the end of the day, Stace, all of this is just illustrative of how messed up this whole economic system is, how messed up capitalism is, you know, because, you know, we always have these political leaders and business leaders, you know, eschewing all of the virtues of capitalism, but they can do that because they're making so much money, and the middle and working class ain't making none, comparatively speaking.
Power 96 will put an exclamation point on this, says that I live off the worst retirement plan in the U.S. Retired enlisted military pay, and I know how to live within my means. My wife has always made more than me.
Yeah. Yeah. So we need to be having those types of conversations as well, you know, because this is unsustainable. And it, you know, it's clear to me that that political leaders, they don't give a damn about regular Americans. They don't care if we live or die, because all they're interested in is taking care of the needs of the wealthy elite, the 1%. And the rest of us can eat cake.
Well, and also underscores the other thing too, and I thought you were going there as well, is this again, lack of financial education, you know, particularly among our younger ones in schools. There is absolutely no financial education.
But that's up to us, Stacey.
Oh, it is up to us.
We can't sit down and continue to expect that they're going to teach us the things.
Yeah, because it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Because as Audre Lorde said, the master will never give us tools for our liberation. So we can't sit down and wait until we have to. I mean, one of the things that bangs in my head all the time at this particular time is that we are getting opportunities to become more independent. To become more independent.
This is not, this is not like a baseball game or a basketball game where you see the camera and come on, Mimi.
Good morning. I'm sorry, I just needed my purse and it was behind him. Are you
now the world knows.
Have a beautiful day. I love what you're talking about, as always.
Take care. Have a good one. Yeah. So, we have got to become more proactive. We have got to become to take advantage of every opportunity. How long are we going to wait? I mean, this is something that I've been doing. I am not a financial guru by any stretch of the imagination, but I understand that there are things that I have to learn. So Mimi and I are learning. We have a couple of friends who are accountants and financial experts, and they're helping to lead us through to the place that we need to in terms of us taking care of credit and money and all of that type of stuff. But most of us have no idea, and we need to. We need to learn. We need to learn. We need to make more money, and we need to take care of our money, because I think from what I've seen, America is one of developed countries. America is one of the worst countries in terms of people saving. They don't save.
Well, you mentioned earlier the whole credit card mentality.
Yeah.
And you saw that, you know, it's so funny because you kind of saw that coming when they talked about, and this was in the 90s, talked about a cashless society. And then we started seeing the advent of debit cards and things of that nature. I remember being surprised going to a McDonald's, and this was probably 1993.
They said no cash, right?
And it's like they wanted your credit card.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. You know, I'm getting a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
So
I've always thought that was kind of weird to use a credit card to buy like fast food and that type of thing. And
but it goes to what you're saying, though. It was pushed that this is what's going to happen. And now, like you said, there's a report just yesterday, I believe it was, about credit card debt, and Americans in credit card debt is at its highest it's ever been, right? And it's soaring out of control. Mike V says, didn't Harry Belafonte take his money to retire in the Caribbean? He made a smart move. And some people are doing that. But obviously not a whole lot, but some are.
Yeah.
Well, Barrington, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is expected to seek more than $1 dozen indictments when she presents her case regarding efforts by Donald Trump and his allies to overturn the 2020 presidential election results in Georgia, as she presents this next week to a grand jury. They've already put the barricades up, and we all know what it's going to be. Trump knows he's going to be indicted there. Everyone knows he's going to be indicted there. There's a couple of things, though, with this. We're going to talk about his attack on Fani Willis, and B, attorney and ABC chief legal correspondent Dan Abrams had some interesting things to say, and he's not the only one. But so let's parse this out. Talk about his attack first. Trump's attack on Fani Willis, falsely alleging that she had an affair with a gang member who she's actually prosecuting. To say something like that with no basis whatsoever about a prosecutor. We've seen him attack the judges now. We've seen him attack the prosecutors everywhere. At what point, Barrington, do they say, okay, we understand that he's a former president. We understand that, he's a loudmouth, he's this, he's that, whatever. But at what point do you say, for the sake of, because if I start doing that, or you start doing, if somebody else let me take you and I out of the equation, because we're not going to be committing any crimes whatsoever to be under indictment. So if somebody under indictment says that, they see this, I should say. So
it would be hustled to a prison facility.
Yeah, but what I'm saying though is, are you allowing this precedent to be set where
they are.
Now my attorney could say, hey, wait a minute, you guys, you didn't jail Trump.
But I guarantee you that if you made that argument, they would laugh at you and put you in handcuffs and take you away. It is infuriating that they continue to make this piece of trash, threaten witnesses, make the statements that he makes, and do nothing. I'm hoping that Judge, what's her name, Chutkan?
Yes, Chutkan.
I hope that she puts his butt in jail, because
at least for a day, right? Just to say,
no, he don't need to go for a day. He needs to go for a couple of weeks, couple of months, because he needs to understand that he's no different from anybody else. He's still running around with rich boys' impunity, thinking that he can do and say what he wants, and there are no consequences. There needs to be consequences. They keep on bending over backwards for him, and he continues. The thing is that people like him, he's like them people at in Montgomery. They only pay attention when you kick their ass, and they need to kick his ass.
Yeah, it's like how much can this really go on with you? You are now eroding the public trust in prosecutors. You're eroding the public trust in judges.
But that has been the plan, Stacey, to erode trust in any and all public institutions, especially in so-called criminal justice. Because he's laid the groundwork for if he gets back in office, because he's already said that he's going to put the DOJ and the FBI and all the rest of them under the president.
Yeah, so he's also exactly. It
just makes me shake my head, because Steve Bannon came into office with him and said what they were going to do, which was to deconstruct the administrative state. They told us what they're going to do, and they have been doing it, and they will continue if he gets back in. And we all know he is running for his life, literally, because if he loses, he stands to gain substantial prison time.
Agree. Chris says she agrees with you, Badger. Put him in jail for a few weeks. He will come out like Martha Stewart getting Snoop Dogg tattoos. That is absolutely hilarious. Can Can you see Trump with Snoop Dogg tattoo? Yeah.
Yeah.
after a month in jail. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have to. It seems like, and you mentioned Judge Chuck in DC. She it's been described as a no nonsense judge. She was appointed in 2012 to the bench by Barack Obama, and she's also, she has. They brought January 6 cases before her last year, and in some instances where there has been deals made, she's like, no, you know what? No, you're going to jail.
She has been the toughest judge of all of them.
Yeah.
In terms of the prison sentences that she's given the right.
Yeah. She has sent people to jail even after they've cut a no jail deal with prosecutors. Like, no, he's got to do some time, she said.
And that's what's got to happen. But listen, when you have, I mean, every time that I consider that this dude has been on earth for 77 years and has done all of these done. They said that when he came into office, he had 2,500 lawsuits against him from small businesses and other entities that he had stolen their money from. And he did what the studio heads are doing. He would tell the people that, I will give you pennies on the dollar, and basically just wait them out. They need their money. They're small businesses. I mean, he's a thief and a liar and a con man and an insurrectionist. And they everybody's trying to still continue to deal with them with kid gloves. Put his ass in prison.
Now
that would be a great attitude adjuster.
Yeah. Now with the 12 counts that she's expected to bring against him, attorneys like Dan Abrams. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Attorneys like Dan Abrams, and he's not the only one, but he's right now the most prolific. He was on ABC television saying that this is nonsense. That in the sense that these are the same charges that he's already facing federally. So why bring them on the state level? That they shouldn't be done, and it only lends, Dan Abrams said, to this idea that this is a witch hunt. But why are folks saying, and I'm saying, why are lawyers too saying that they shouldn't bring these charges, that they're the same as federal charges? He says generally when charges like that are similar or the same as federal charges, the state prosecutors usually back down and not bring the charges. What do you say to that?
Listen, it is very clear that we live in a culture where they say one thing and do another, because they're quick to tell us that equal justice under the law, but it's never been equal justice, because rich people get away, wealthy people get away, well-connected people get away. The fact that and I'm not a lawyer, but Dan Abrams needs to reconsider, because they've already said that if he gets back in office, that the federal charges will immediately go away.
Right.
So you need to plaster him with as many state charges as possible, not just because it will stick and go forward if he goes back in office, but because he committed crimes, as we have to say, allegedly. He allegedly committed crimes, all over the country.
Yeah, because because essentially you could bring these charges in Wisconsin as well.
Wisconsin, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Michigan, right?
Yes. So it just seems like, once again, that this is the idea of he deserves privilege, because again, anybody else, if Barack Obama had done this,
oh Lord,
the charges would be everywhere, right? If Joe Biden did this, the charges would be everywhere.
But Stacey, this is just further indication of the moral rot in institutions and among professions, because Dan Abrams is a lawyer who claims that he upholds the law, but he's making it clear that he wouldn't be coming out saying that if it was Stacey Brown or Barrington Salmon who were facing these charges. They'd be like, throw the book at him. but somehow this one is supposed to get special compensation, special privileges. Nah.
Austin says that Dan Abrams should kick rocks with Feinstein and McConnell. Oh man, the bottom line is just about anybody else who committed crimes in whatever jurisdiction, that jurisdiction would bring charges, and it's as simple as that.
As simple as that.
You can't go beyond that. And so, you mentioned Montgomery. Well, now the latest out of Montgomery with the brawl, there is that a witness has come forward and apparently with videotape, his or her video floors out that these men used racial slurs as they attacked the security guard that's kicked off this brawl. And now yesterday we talked about this where the mayor said that they had spoken with the DOJ about, potentially about charges stemming from race, but he said that this was not a racial attack. Now we're starting to hear otherwise.
Whatever. I think sometimes I gotta chuckle because that was what was coming out. Excuse me, in the aftermath of this melee, that it wasn't racial, because I'm pretty sure that if the security guard was white, they wouldn't have attacked him like that.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have attacked him like that. And
I would just move their boat like they should have in the first place, right?
And I don't need video for them to tell me that they called him and other people that they uttered racial epithets. I don't need anybody to tell me that. Based on where they are, based on their history, and based on what they've been doing. So, whatever. They can go kick rocks as well if they want to continue to try to pretend that this wasn't racial.
Yeah, and the other thing on the lighter side of this that has come out of this is the chair. The chair. Oh, the chair is everywhere.
The chair is a winner, bruh. I saw a picture the other day. Someone took a picture of a rack in Walmart, and they had the chairs prominently displayed for $13.99 a chair. they put the display in the front of the Walmart store. So Walmart's trying to capitalize.
I've seen images of Harriet Tubman handing the chair to young ones.
Tommy Smith and John Carlos holding chairs. Martin Luther King statue holding a chair.
Holding chairs.
Yeah.
The chair is everywhere.
I love the meme that somebody interviewing the chair, and the chair said, "All I was doing was minding my business."
Well, Vicky Smiley was interviewing the chair.
Oh man. Yeah.
I mean, that has been the lighter side of this. The chair, David Youngblood says, the chair goes to the Smithsonian.
yeah, I'm serious.
But the problem, though, the only problem with that is that is, that might be where the guy got.
Yeah,
that is hilarious. But that might be where the gentleman who used that chair might have crossed the line as far as criminal is concerned.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part of it all. Now,
but sometimes
they haven't charged them yet.
No, but sometimes you have to take extraordinary measures, bruh. It's at the end of the day still self-defense.
And Bobby Henry says, "Did you know that it was a black man who invented the folding chair? Nathaniel Alexander was his name."
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, it's just the chair keeps giving, doesn't it?
Yep. Yes, it does. I'm just really glad that the folks who are around there didn't just allow this man to be beaten and stood back and did nothing.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Because we are in a society, a culture that the moment something happens, the first thing folks do is take out
Yeah.
their phones.
Mm.
And they stand on the sideline and watch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're right. This is an instance where not only did the phones come out, but so did the defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
and we're lucky, Stacy, because nobody had a gun or a knife.
Right. Well, and that's the other part of it, right? Certainly the guys, the white guys on the boat didn't have a gun.
Yeah.
But those guys, the black guys that came out, they didn't think about that. Obviously, they didn't give that any thought. It was like, listen, we got to do something here.
Yeah, but this is the way it used to be when I grew up, because it was all fists. You had a dispute, you settle it with your hands.
John Dolphin. John says, by any chair necessary. I tell you, it keeps giving. The chair, yeah. Austin says the chairs rose to the occasion. And Power 96 says, I have a few folding chairs. They are ready for use. He says, Siri, play Oops Upside Your Head. But it just doesn't stop.
But I think that this is going to happen again. I think that there are going to be more cases, more incidents of this.
Right.
Because it set a precedent. Because we've seen way too many videos of people being victimized, brutalized, and folks stand back. And you know, it probably would have been different because usually in the case like with George Floyd, because it was cops, the bystanders didn't weigh in.
Right.
Didn't weigh in. And but it's interesting because I saw a video of the cops just standing watching the fight.
Yeah, that was interesting to me too. And it also was interesting when they moved in to intervene. They did so very cautiously.
Yeah.
They allowed certain things to go on. It wasn't until the chair that they felt like they needed to act more definitively.
Yeah.
So that was you're right. It's a good point. But all of these the chair memes, the chair jokes, John with the win by any chair necessary. So
the Battle of Montgomery is going down in history.
You're right, and I think you're right too, on the sense that this is not going to be the only time we see something like that.
Mm-hmm. But this is important too, because it put them on notice. All of these Karens, all of these racists running around, not allowing Black people to live their lives in peace. This is going to put them on notice, because if you're afraid that you're going to get a cheer to some part of your body, you'll think twice before you try to be messing with people. These
were chairs over the head.
Yeah,
I mean, gosh, and that the lady, especially. I mean, he hit the dude first with the chair.
Ain't no lady.
The woman, she got it.
She got banged out good. Yeah, she did.
Don't mean to laugh, because
if you look at the video, Stacy, Miss Red Dress was in every frame fighting.
Yeah.
So she was a willing and active combatant.
It was like he needed to just put her down and keep her down.
Yeah. But somebody had put her down, because she had been kicked around pretty good by some women.
You know what was hilarious?
Mm-hmm.
The hilarious thing was the dude that jumped in the water just so he wouldn't get beat up.
Yeah. Well, hell, you see five very angry Black men coming towards you. You better run for your life.
He said, you know what? There's only one way out.
Yeah. But that just shows you what a bunch of cowards they are, because they would never have fought that Black dude, the security guy, one-on-one.
Yeah. And again, I think the one post that I saw, I actually retweeted with the Good Times theme.
Yeah,
it was just absolutely the talent that does this is amazing.
It's creativity on steroids, man.
Oh, tell me about it. Anyway, before we close out, the new basketball season is approaching. Preseason is next month, but here's the thing with the NBA: they have set a league record for the most head coaches of color in the past year. That's more than half of the NBA teams now have Black head coaches, according to the racial and gender report card released by the Institute for Diversity and Ethics in Sports at the University of Central Florida. In November 2022, the league reached an all-time high for head coaches of color, 17, with 16 of them being Black. There are 32 teams. So this is it's a step in the right direction according to this report. But here's the other part of that. It still does not include what's going on in the front offices. It's still very much to be desired in the front offices.
It's still a white boys game.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have to laud the progress and improvements that we make, and we just gotta fight harder, because they have presented this narrative that it's all about merit, and if it was all about merit, you wouldn't have all these white people in all these positions in all these places and spaces.
Yeah,
it's a system. It's the structural, institutional racism that allows them to hold these spaces. And as we continue to move forward, we will see more efforts by the courts and by legislators and others to try to hold the line to ensure that Black people don't get into the places and spaces that they deserve to be in. I mean, the Alabama legislature is the best example. They have just outright refused to redraw a second congressional district majority Black, and they have basically told the Supreme Court to go kick rocks, and in doing nothing, that they're not. So we can expect that this is going to continue. So I hope that. But the NBA has always been ahead of the Major League Baseball and the NFL.
Major League Baseball is absolutely awful as far as that's concerned. And we had a World Series last November with not one African American player on either team.
Yeah.
It happened to be that the manager of the World Series winner, the Houston Astros, was an African American man, Dusty Baker.
Dusty Baker, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
but to me, I guess we should be looking at reasons why, because those who are much more familiar with baseball than I am, they say that the cost is one of the reasons why so few African American children are involved. You would know better than me because you're a baseball buff. Is that true?
Well, I mean, listen, I played baseball. I played Little League Baseball. I played what they call Pony League Baseball. I played high school for my high school team. We when I grew up, we picked up bats and balls, and we had some gloves, and those, when you couldn't get a glove, you made a glove. You played a position where the ball was least likely to be hit hard to you. You figured it out. We played just like with basketball. You got a ball and you made your own hoop. We put a milk crate, and cut out the bottom and make a backboard. You created that. I think the problem with baseball is not necessarily that it's too expensive. I just think that baseball has done a horrible job as far as marketing and making it accessible to young people of color.
It's interesting because I heard a podcast or something last week where parents were saying that it costs like $4,000 if they want their children to be in like established baseball, like going to camps and going to play.
Yeah, the camps might be expensive. I know the Washington Nationals do have a camp that is very, very accessible and welcoming to all. But
I wrote a story about that some years ago.
Oh, well, there you have it.
when they opened the facility.
Yeah. So these camps, they may be. I have not. Now that part I have not researched. I have not been a part of either. When I was growing up, it was just you had in your neighborhoods and even outside your neighborhoods, because we play inside our neighborhoods and outside our neighborhoods. The leagues were available. I know back then the cost was probably like $30 to join the league or whatever, to be on a team, and they'd have a draft and everything. But these camps might be the problem. It just might be that.
But you know what I just thought of, Stacy? When we were children, when I was in Jamaica, and it was the summertime, when the chores were done, my mother told us to get out of the house and don't come back until it was dark.
There you go. You go.
Now we have so many of our children who are stuck in front of a television screen playing video games. They don't want to come out of the house. They're like the Washington football team, who's all upset because Eric Bieniemy he's too tough, he's too intense. So they're acting like a bunch of little weenies. No, I'm serious. I mean, folks coddle their children too much. They need to kick them outside. They need to tear them away from their TV screens and let them do things that children do. Build your body. Get up. I mean, please. When I was a child in Jamaica, we would take the fronds from the palm trees, the thick parts of it, and build kites. Make kites.
Yep.
With grease paper and some glue and some rags, and we had kites. And when I explain that to young people, they're like, "Oh my God!" Like it was some great invention. So they've lost their creativity, they've lost their sense of adventure. So we need to. I mean, I was also reading and looking at the way that Europe deals with their children, Sweden and them places. They put them children outside during the school day. You spend at least 30% of your time outside. Here, everybody's running inside because they're afraid. It's too hot. It's too this. I mean,
well, we did the same thing. When we grew up, at our school, we were outside a lot.
Yeah.
They made sure we were outside a lot. Mike V says high schools have gone into e-gaming, which is a multi-million-dollar industry now. It's where black people aren't. But once again, though, it also falls on when we talk about baseball, because again, the black head coaches, that's a great milestone. Hopefully that continues. But when you talk about baseball, so recognizing this, if they really want to reach people of color, they can go into the schools and create their own programs. They can use their resources that way. So there are a lot of ways in which to do this. And as Greer says, these industries have taken over the schools. So nothing prevents Major League Baseball from going into the schools. I'm sure if one of the stars of baseball go into a school, it's going to cause an uproar, right? It's going to cause excitement. But you follow that up with more excitement and getting these kids involved.
Yeah.
Baseball has done a poor job. Yes, it is probably expensive to go to these camps and things of that nature, but they've done a poor job. And some of that stuff, Barrington, I believe is intentional. I don't think they want people.
Most of it's intentional, Stacy. It's not a priority. It's not a priority.
Yeah.
So and even as they complain about the lack of African American and American kids being funneled through, they're acting as if there's nothing they can do. They can, and they've chosen not to. So
they've chosen not to. Yeah. They will throw the bone. Jackie Robinson Day once a year.
Yeah.
They will do that. But that's a bone. It's like somebody said about Juneteenth. It's like, do we? It's nice that it's recognized, but that's that. What else are you doing?
But the problem is that too often I think black people in this country are too willing to take style over substance, because folks will make noise when they do that, but not enough noise to rattle them to do the right thing. Because the anti-American hate bill, all of these other measures that they've taken for other marginalized groups in this country, and we get Juneteenth and a concert at the White House.
There you have it. There you have it. Well, that about wraps it up for us, folks. Barrington,
Where are you, by the way?
I am in Rehoboth, Delaware.
Oh, okay. I thought I looked at the background and I said, I hope he's in Puerto Rico or somewhere.
No, I'm at a place where, and I don't know if you've seen me looking down from time to time, where flies bite.
Bite?
Bite.
Uh-oh.
Yes. And I'm suffering big time over here.
Oh,
So,
suffering for the job. Oh my God.
I am suffering.
I hope you get combat pay for that.
Listen, we'll see. But thanks a lot, Barrington. Thank you.
She just cut you off.